Hello again. A little bit of technical problem. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, cool. So the idea of this webinar is to guide learners in the Python programming world. Of course, we do not have enough time to go through everything related to Python programming language essentials. Still, there are free resources like programmings.com are among the best places to learn Python programming with, like solving several problems. Like real exercises. So in your project at APU, you probably create a banking console application or some sort of management application where you or some sort of management application where you store user data and process transactions or actions into a text file. And you probably consider that text file as a database storage for the entire application. So it will be best if you create admin level functions like manipulating all the users in the system and generating user reports based on the selected user in the database. Furthermore, you will create user level functions where users can accomplish something in the system. For instance, if it's a banking application, the user probably must be able to deposit and withdraw money or send money based on the user ID. So since the system has two levels of functionalities, you must create a login function that separates general users from the bank users, like staffs, because if the user is an employee of the bank, it has more privileges over general users. Moreover, you should be able to save those users to a text file in your project with their identities to manage them based on their title if you want. So here, let's clarify the levels of users. We have user level functions, admin level functions. So if you have the admin dashboard function to separate the internal operations from the external operations, this function can have showing all account information, showing staff accounts, deleting accounts, changing user accounts, and more. And we have, maybe you can add more ideas because it is all limited by your imagination. For instance, you can add a referral program for bank users so that they can get a gift or something out of it. And to get into the admin dashboard in your project, the staff needs to go through a login operation. And if the staff tries to go into internal system, there'll be master password, which is the key to the staff dashboard. If the staff passes the correct key, the admin dashboard will be called respectively. And we have the user function that manipulates user operations at a lower level. The admin dashboard has high permissions to the core data. What I'm saying is that if you create your admin function first, you just quickly transform that function into a user level function. So it's not that hard. Besides, while doing these actions, you should take care of various scenarios to make your system more like a real system based on these factors. So you can finish your final project with that. To point out, the project should be a console application, which means it is based on only text, but it would be best if you were careful while creating system menus based on the text, because since there's no graphical element, so its input and output are all based on text. Consequently, when you create your login function, you should provide different user menus depending on the user privileges. So moreover, there will be requirements that say you should follow structured programming paradigm and not rely heavily on built-in libraries to handle data processing. For instance, if you utilize a simple text file as your database, you probably use a comma separate structure to manage in the system, to manage the data. As a note, let me briefly explain what a comma separated value are. So a comma separated values file is a delimited text file that uses comma to separate the values in the text file. Actually, you can use anything to separate those values. And each line of the file is data record. Each record consists of one or more fields separated by commas or any other given sign. So with various libraries, you can do everything in one or two lines of code, but your instructor does give you a bad mark because of it. So it is better to create your file management functions for your project. I can easily say that that is the only part that students struggle with because all the other thing in the program doesn't require much of a problem solving. So here in this workshop, you will see how we have managed to create our own file management helper functions. All right, back to some information you need to know. As I said earlier, you must utilize a structured programming paradigm for your project. The structured programming paradigm primarily relies on functions to keep the project maintainable and readable. It aims to make your code more unambiguous and best designed with the flow of operations in order. So if someone comes up to you and asks you what a structured programming paradigm is, rather than thinking too deeply, you can just say it is mainly dividing the source code into blocks and putting those blocks in needed places to make your source code more neat and more straightforward to understand by everyone. So, for instance, we have helper functions used in several times in a whole project. Why they are called helper functions? Because they're used in several places of your code. And to remove redundancy in your code, it is better to make that lines of code into a function or procedure and utilize those functions when you need them. For example, file handling functions can be separated since they need to be used in several times in source code. Like login function can be separated to creating user functions, or user and admin level functions can be separated as functions too. All right, let's briefly start talking about the project. Since we are supposed to create our functions to handle most of the things in the program rather than using packages from the system, you could come up with an idea of just using txt comma separated values as we said earlier. So CSV comma separated values are easy to handle because of the delimiters. So you can utilize the split function to handle delimiters, turning them into a list data types, or you would say array data type, and accessing those data by its indexes is really easy. So I have created my simple functions to handle comma separated values from the text file using just for loop, split function, turning them into list, and accessing by their row indexes. As you can see, this is the first helper function, uh, def open file. This means we're defining a function in Python programming language, and def is the keyword for defining a new function, and open file is the name of it, name of the function. So with open text data.txt, and this R means reading mode, and we're saying that we're gonna get this file, physical file, as f, a variable, or f unit, and we have results list, or you could say array. Okay. Um, then we have for line in f. So we are iterating through that file line by line. And in here, we're just splitting those lines into words with split function. And since we have used a comma to separate values in the lines, we are giving the comma here. All right, as you can see. And we are adding the results. I mean, like the words into a list, and we're just returning it. And here, as you can see, we have to close the connection between the between your application and file, physical file. So you need to call f.close. And as you can see, you can just access those data with their row indexes. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So we can go to the next one. This is the write data function that saves data in the database file as a new line mode. This function gets two parameters, the first file name and the second and read and write manners, modes. So here again, we are defining a write data function, and it has two parameters here, lines and mode. With lines, we can provide the data, provide the information, and you can provide the mode. That can be write mode, append mode, or reading mode. And again, you're just opening the physical file and writing those given information to the text file, to the physical file with a new line by formatting it and just closing that function. All right. And we have a third helper function. This function called value change, it gets a list from program where the user writes data and saves it on a text file. And this value change function is only used in the main user dashboard function in our project, where the user can add money, withdraw money, transfer money, and password changing operations. Since the same process is needed in several places, I made a function out of it, which is a good practice in programming. So you can see the function here. We have lists, so it provides a list, and we have list two, or a just a array, we can say, and we are iterating through that information here. And as you can see, we're using a little bit of tricky part of the Python. I mean, like syntax sugar. Uh, so we're just iterating the given information here with J, and we have a CHAN1, CHAN1. So that iterates through J, I mean like all the information given, and iterates through them and turns the values into string, because the text file should be maintained, should be added only texts, and it should be you can see that you will see that this str int functions will be used in several times, because while adding different values or like depositing a money, you can use integer data type, and while saving it to a file or data storage, you need to convert into string. So that's what we are doing here. And as you can see, we are separating those values with comma. So list to append chan1, just we are adding those new formatted values to a new list, and we are opening the text data as a write mode, and we're just providing that newly created list. So that will be helpful. This function is helpful to maintain the data in the text file. All right, let's dive into code rather than looking at a chunk of code is here. So I'm gonna go back, and this is the project we have. It is around 400 words, 400 lines, I mean. So do I need to zoom in, or can you guys see the code here? Okay, I'm gonna zoom in. How about now? Oh, great. So we have the main function here. So, and we have the create user function.
Hey mate, Monjo, you're muted.
Oh, interesting. Someone is playing. Okay, never mind. All right. Again, these are the helper functions that we have seen already. And at the end, at the end of the file, we have name here. This name variable is a uh, special variable in Python. It is a unique because Python assigns a different value depending how its containing script executes. So this means that when you execute this whole workshop.py Python source code, uh, this executes the main function, right? Which is good for maintaining the uh, entrance for your project. All right, let's go back to top and let me explain everything line by line. I hope I'm not boring you guys because this is something you need to know because of this is the intro to programming using Python. And if you master these things, you can excel at many things. You can excel at later on other classes. Like this is a really structured programming paradigm, not real object-oriented project. So it is basic too, but there are little tricky parts that you should know before jumping onto other things, other higher level things. So, all right, as you can see, we are importing datetime, and here we're using datetime.now, and time variable here gets the default time and date with the format here. Okay, and this is the program runs first when you run the program. As you can see, this is the main function. This program heads just to the bank and prints this information. Welcome to our bank. Please log in or create a new account, and it shows the menu here. As you can see, this is the part that I have seen most of my classmates struggled because you need to control the flow of the application. You cannot just use a set of codes to handle everything because there should be a cycle, there should be a behavior that redirects the user or someone into another function. So here we're just using a while loop to cycle the program, as you can see. This is a basic thing, but here we're just assigning x to true. So true programming running when the user give input 3, and if it gives 3 here, it just changes the x variable to false, so that there this function, this loop stops. So there will be an exit and the program is closed. So here, option 1 is input variable, where user give an input and option 1, and it holds a value here. And depending on the value given by the user, it redirects to another functions. For instance, if the option here, I'm like checking if it's empty, it asks again, please select an option, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 here. And this elif check if a user give input 1 means login staff or user account. And it redirects the user to login function. Okay, and this is again option 2. So this is option 2 is creating a new account, and option 3 is exiting this. So the main function is simply calling the other core functions in the program. Okay, we can just collapse it. And we have the create user function, which is one of this one, I think. I mean, not really. So, okay. So create user. When user come onto this function, all code run in while body, because if user type run command while loop asks again new command line until user type the right command. So as you can see, we have master password, and this is admin123. Master password is used for accessing the banking system. I'm like admin level operations in the system. And again, we're creating a cycle with while loop. This is the same technique we're doing, as you can see. So as I said earlier, if you create one function to take care of several operations in the system, you will have an idea of how to do the next one, because this all things in here are similar to each other. It's just a little bit of changes in the code. So again, let's go back to this inside. So user balance equals 100. This variable by default set user balance to 100. So it means that when you create a new account in the bank, there will be an account, there will be required deposit you need to do. So that's 100 US dollars. So again, this variable set a default user type if a user say it is a user account or it's a staff account. So first, we just say status is user, or later on, if the user types staff like this, it changes it and creates a staff account in the system. So this is the tricky part. You might lose a mark because of it in your project, because it is better to create your randomizing random number generating function with your own code. But to make to make this program a little bit cleaner, we have just imported random, and with rand range, we're creating a count number with this random package. So this is the part that will be homework for you guys. So as I said, let's okay. This is the print, create new account, and as you can see here, it asks username, first name, last name, and also password, and then asks, are you creating a staff account or user account? And then you can input that data to the system with this line of code. And with lower function, we're just making sure of that if user types with caps lock on, we can just lower them the little characters and just check the values easily. As you can see, if the username or password or last name or anything else is empty, it just asks again. So this is the cycle you need to be able to create in your program. And in this part, if everything is okay, all goes well, it will allow him to move on. So here we start another loop here to see if the user has created a staff account or your user account. Okay. Again, the technique that we have been using since this part. So we have a new cycle inside another cycle. If staff have a value staff, we run it. So if user types, yes, I'm staff, it changes the status value to staff and creates, here, it asks a master password. And if the user gives the master password, it just goes on and creates a new account that is the employee, that is the admin level user of the banking system or your project. So as you can see, if inputted, if the given password is equals to master password, now we'll write this variable in the database CSV file that we opened about. As you can see, this data append write data functions are used in several places to make it clean. So data append will be always the like of a container that saves all the user information. For instance, there is account number, username, first name, last name, password, time, user balance, and with its status, like just a user or staff. And with write data function, just appending that given data to a file with append mode. This write data function lives here. We have already talked about this function. Okay, where were we? Create user. Oh, okay, this one. All right, and if all things goes well, staff account created successfully, this message will be shown to the user. And it changes the X variable to false and sends the user to the login function. Sorry for the typos in the comments. I hope you don't mind. So if the above conditions doesn't match, then user gets this message. Oops. Oh, again. Oops. Master password not match. Try again. So this is the inside cycle. And as you can see here, if the condition is not matched, that means if the user is creating a general user in the banking system, it executes these lines of code. Again, the same thing, status equals user, data append, and the same thing goes on. Account number, username, first name, password, time, user balance, and status. Everything is the same. And we are calling the write data function to rewrite that database. So we are just creating, in this part, we're just creating a general user and adding those users to the system. So again, it shows user account, account created successfully. And after everything is done, we send the user to the login function. It redirects the user to the login function. I hope this function is already familiar with you. I mean, like you already understood the techniques here. All right, let's collapse it. So like all the functions in the loop is used here. If the user does something wrong, the loop repeatedly asks him to enter the correct value. So how we are doing it, we are doing with the while loop. All right. Here, as I said earlier, this is only based on a console application and there is no graphical element. So you should create the menus with this kind of text. I have seen my group mates have created really beautiful menus, and those are the things that they have done perfect, but the logic of the program is not really good. I mean, like you can create something really cool in some part, but you should be careful while creating the core functions of the project rather than giving more attention to this kind of details. So again, this is the information here. Uh, 1 means staff account, 2 means user account, and 3 means back to main menu. Again, this asks a user to choose the action here. So if staff or user input equals 3, that means we have to redirect the user to the main menu, right? So we're calling main menu and breaking this loop, breaking this while loop, all right? Um, actually, this x equals false doesn't require, because as you can see, code is unreachable pylons. So this is kind of a pylons is a tool that analyzes your source code statistically and asks you to remove or just make it a comment or anything like that. So it is just a that I mean, like checking the behaviors in system. Yeah, you can just remove it because we're just breaking the entire loop here with break function. So else is staff equals user. Here we open the database file as a read mode, and we have reader, and we have open file function. Open file function lives here. This just adds it and splits the lines word by word and adds to a list, adds an array, and returns it. Okay, let's go back. All right, just we opened the file, and then we get a value from the user as username and password. Username, so to enter the system, you should give your username and password. If staff or user input equals 1, then we can change its staff variable value as staff, because 1 means staff account. All right, so we are entering the system as a employee of the bank, employee of this management system or management program. And here, just we extract data from a database file through for loop. If data given by the user from any database row matches, we send the user to the login. For row in reader, reader is the file. I mean, like list, because open file returns a list. As you can see, it is showing that it returns list. And here we just iterating through that list row by row, and row index 1 is the username, and the row index 4 is the
Monjo, you are muted again.
oh, this is fun. Okay, if row 1, as I said, stores the usernames, and row 4 stores passwords. So if it matches, it goes to the other actions. So this row 0 gates account, sorry for the typos here. And this 0 is the account number. And if all the things matches, we send the user as a step account, because we're doing with the option 1, step account. And here we're just redirecting the user after successful login to the admin dashboard with their account number. All right, account number gets from the row 0 here. All right, if the user say 2, it will be sent to user login as a user account, and is staff is equals user here. And again, the same technique goes again. So we're just iterating the reader, iterating the file here. Oh, here. And we're just again checking the username and their password. If it matches, we redirect the user to the user dashboard, not admin dashboard. And again, we're just providing the account number, because while executing this admin dashboard and user dashboard, you should give the account number after successful login. All right. If all goes wrong, we just say error or something else. Um, let's briefly go through this. Yeah, this is a lot. Okay. Admin dashboard and user dashboard functions. So user dashboard function is similar to the admin dashboard, because when I created my project, I started with my admin dashboard. I started thinking about the employees of the system, because before thinking about the users, you should have a system. You should have a specific system that follows rules. So after you create this admin dashboard, it is almost similar to the user dashboard. All right. Uh, this comment is perfect. As we have seen over and over again, we have to do this to run the loop. Yeah, we're doing the same technique again to make the cycle in the system. So we're calling the open file function to get the data. Open file is here. We have talked about it. And dashboard, okay. Where were we? Let me collapse this one. All right. This admin dashboard here. All right. And again, we're just creating a new menu for the admin dashboard. So when you think about a dashboard, you can think of a app space, because that's a real graphical dashboard you can think of. But since we're doing this with the console applications, we just need to use text only. So staff dashboard, welcome. User show data. User show data is the function that takes account number and its operation. So it just opens the file and shows the results, shows the user data when we need them. Because these lines of code can be used in several times, so I just made a little function out of it. Okay, let's start with show all account. So admin, I just came into the system and I type, I'm gonna see all the accounts. So I'm gonna give 1, and for loop starts enumerating the file here. File, this means file is not the real file, because the open file function is already working with the file, and it's just returning a list or array of data to the file. So we're just dealing with the lines of data here. Index, users, in, enumerate, file. So depending on the index and users, we just iterate those lines. So if user string in available, it will be run. So if user, this is the new line. If the user is in users, we can show all the user accounts here. Again, we are using print with F here. We're just formatting the output. This is the tab. So tab means that 2 spaces or 4 spaces, depending on your system. And this is the account number and users 0. We are here iterating the array, which are iterating the list, so we can access with their row indexes, column indexes. Account number, username, and status. So this first command shows all the accounts in the system with their account numbers, usernames, and status. So the second one, show staff account. Yeah, it does the same thing, but it checks for the staff. All right, this checks for user, this checks for staff. If staff is in staff, we're going to show the information about the staff accounts in the system. These are the same things. Just we're changing the conditional here with the user and staff. If it asks 3, it means deleting account. If user input 3, this part will be run to delete account. So it is a little bit different. So, okay. I think you guys can hear and see my screen. So admin operation equals 3. That means we're gonna delete an account. So delete account input equals input. This line asks the employee to get the account number. And we're gonna again go through the file, and if the given account number is in the file, is in the database, we're gonna just remove that account from the system, and we're calling value change file. This means value change file here just gets a list, gets a new data, and makes a new like overriding the system. It creates a new values and appends and creates a new updated database storage for us. All right. Then we have option 4. Here we get an account number from the staff member. Again, the same thing, but it all goes for the changing user accounts. So changing user accounts works for depending on the accounts. So change account, input, we're entering the account number here. We're iterating again the lists. I mean, like we're iterating the users in the system. If the change account, if the given account here exists in the database, we're gonna ask enter a new account. Replace the new account number with the old one. Here just we are changing the account number with the new account given by this line of code. And again, we're executing value change file. This line of code means that we are overriding the database. We are rewriting the user information in that the database we have. So the fifth one is account report generate. All right. So admin operation equals 5. Staff member input account number, which needs to report. So staff comes to the place, comes to the program, and gives the general user account. And we have report data. This is a container for saving the generated information. For IQ, this means the account we have. If staff given account number in database, and it should be in the user's history. So we're gonna check if history is in this account. We design a user report with kind of a string here. All right, as you can see, here we are just generating a new report. This is the information that will be saved to a generated report file. Receiver account, the account here given by the admin, and date, sender, and amount. All the information that is saved in history, they'll be generated with this kind of design here. And we're going to open a new file with their account number, and we're going to call that's report.txt, and just we're going to add those generated information to a new report file. So else if admin operation 6, we're gonna go back to the exit. We can just exit. I think the admin dashboard is finished. You guys already know these helper functions, but let's see the last function in our project. All right, this is the user dashboard. I'm gonna say again, we are doing the same technique one more time. Uh, this is the last time. So you can see we call a user show data. It gets the user data by its account, and we're creating a new kind of a dashboard for the users. So it shows user show data here. We're just calling the function with the account number and its value here. And here we're just creating a beautiful and simple dashboard for the users in our user dashboard function. And it is similar to admin dashboard. It asks these options again, and there's the input, there's the open file. This returns list of data, and if the option is empty, it asks again. If it's one means what? Adding money. All right. So this is the fun part. I'm like adding, withdrawing, and transferring money. They are the tricky part. So if the user depositing money, so we're gonna create add money variable and ask the user to input their amount of deposit that they're gonna do. Again, we used for loop to extract data from lines variable that we defined above. For ln and lines, if account number is in this account, this row, this is the index 0 means account number. All right, and index 6 means the balance. So in the file, in the database, index 6 represents the balance of the user. All right, so here ln 6 add money. Add money is given by the user, and we are turning that values into integer here, because while working with numeric values, you should specify there if it's int or real values. And while saving those values, we should be careful because we need to save only string values to a text file, because we're using text file. All right, we cannot use integer or any other any other data type in our text file in our simple database. And again, value change takes the lines, takes the new information, and here it creates a new list by formatting it and turning them all the values into string and separating those values with a comma. Okay. And we have option 2. Option 2 is withdrawing money. What we're gonna do with withdraw money is that it is similar to depositing money. In the withdraw money, in this part, we just use minus operator, right? Minus operator. See, withdraw money, the amount is given. Here we're checking, here we're repeating the same technique, but it has several kind of a behavior checking process. Like, for instance, if the withdraw money is less than the balance you have, it shows, oops, your withdraw is greater than balance. All right, it checks these values. Else, if the money you want to withdraw is less than the balance you have in the bank account, it just goes and just here uses minus operator. And just we're here turning the text data type into an integer, and just we're doing arithmetical operations on it. And again, we're using str to change that value to string, and we are giving those updated values using the value change. This value change goes again and creates a new formatted um, list here, and it overrides the values in the file in the database. Okay, this one is gone. This one is finished. Okay, 3 means it just checks the balance or updates the user dashboard with this information. It's just simple. You're just using user show data with their account number by giving the account number, and this 6 means that the place in the file, the index in the file that deals with the user balance. Right? That's just simple. Someone has a mic on. All right. And we have option 4, money transferring. This is the hardest part, I think, because here you can see this is several dozens of lines of code. I mean, 20 or 30, I don't know. So, okay. If user inputs 4, this part will be run with this message. It again goes to the user show data, asks the account number, asks the amounts, and we have 2 for loops to iterate lines. This for loop here extracts the values from lines variable. Here we're checking the users, 2 different users here, and if the given account is in the file, we just go to this part here and convert the given values to integer and add those values to the another user or the index in the file with their given money, given deposit, given transferring money. Again, we're creating safe history, and we're giving the new information, and we're just writing to a file with append mode. And we have the last function, change password. Okay, change password here goes with asks the old password one and asks the new password, and it asks again that you need to confirm the new created password here. So here we're just iterating through the lines. We're just checking if the password exists, and if they exist, and if they pass this condition, it just changes the values and updates the entire database with value change function here, and shows the password change successfully, kind of a information. I think that's it. Let's briefly see this application in real time. So you can click the Control and tilde buttons, and it shows the terminal here. I think you guys can see my terminal. So with Python command, and by specifying the workshop.py, we can just execute our application. Welcome to our bank. Please log in or create a new account. I'm going to create a new account. Username is test1. First name is maybe Aziz. Last name is the rock. Password is 0101. Is that an step account? Say yes or no. I'm going to say no. This is just a user. So it goes to the login here, login part. It after creating the account, it just redirected the user to the login part. So I'm going to go with user account. Username is test1. Password is 0101. And welcome test1. This means that this is the user dashboard. So here, for instance, we can add money. I'm going to add 250 US dollars. And our balance is 350 now because the initial deposit was 100. We added 250 and it's 350. Okay, the next part is withdraw money. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna withdraw money because I need to pay my APU fee. So APU rent fee. So I'm gonna withdraw 250 US dollars again, and we have a new balance here. Also, we can see the change password, and it asks the old password 0101, new password 0102. We need to confirm that, and I'm gonna log out. I'm gonna log in. User account. Username is test1, and in this part we need to give the updated password here. For instance, if we give 0101 the first password, it doesn't work. There we go. The password is changed, and as you can guys see, there's a text data. This is the storage we have. This is the account number, the username, first name, last name, time is given with the password here, and the balance and the status of the user. Guys, do we have time? Because we can see all the functions if we have more time.
We have like 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Let me do one simple action. Okay, so I'm gonna log out, create a new account here. Username is test2, test2, test2. Here we go. I'm gonna say it's no. I'm gonna log in. What was the password? And as you can see in the text data, we have 2 users in the database. And I'm gonna just transfer money. All right. So I'm gonna say, or please enter account number. I'm gonna give this account number. This is Aziz's account number. Shift insert. Oh, okay, that worked. Okay, enter amount. I'm gonna send $50 as a gift to my friend Aziz. And there we go. We have a history that says we have transferred money from this account to this account. What is the amount? The amount is 50 US dollars, and it says history. All right, it is kind of a, we have finished here. We have seen all the code here and explained it line by line and showed the application in action. I think I'm gonna just stop sharing my screen. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Thank you, Manju. Now we're
Great.
gonna okay. Now we're gonna have a quiz game. with our friend Abdurrahman. Uh, can you start, Abdurrahman?
Yeah, hello everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, can.
All right, so my camera isn't working for some reason, but that's fine. So now, guys, quiz on quizzes. I believe you're all. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Abdurrahman. I'll be conducting the questions, little easy multiple choice questions using quizzes. I believe you're all familiar with the platform. So I will now share my screen in order for you to see the code, and I will also share a link in the chat so you can join, guys. All right.